Nebraska and Panola, right?
Yep. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome into Hutchinson, Kansas. Inside the Hutchinson Sports Arena, getting ready for consolation action in the second part of that bracket, the second round for the NJCAA Division I Volleyball Championship. Getting set for match number 20. You expected us to say good afternoon when we started this match. Supposed to have started at 4:30, and here we are only about 4 minutes away from the opening serve between Panola, the 8 seed in this tournament at 26-7, and Western Nebraska, the 4 seed at 33-7.
Lane winds up shot and a goal!
2 seconds ago.
Rangers, a long three. Hey!
Oh my goodness! It's a walk-off base hit for Michael Smith.
It's an Olympico and a goal for Paradise Valley, J.C. Duncan.
Well, there's the feed into Rodriguez, the jam.
Fans, you can follow all the action of the 2017 NJCAA Fall Sport National Championships live on NJCAA TV. Go to www.njcaatv.com to view live and archived broadcasts of the national tournaments for soccer, volleyball, and football. NJCAA TV is also available on Apple TV, Amazon Fire, Android TV, and Roku streaming platforms. NJCAA TV, the official digital video network of the NJCAA. Good evening and welcome into the Hutchinson Sports Arena. I am Darren Dunn, joined by John Harding as we prepare for Panola, the 8 seed at 26-7, and the 4 seed Western Nebraska 33-7. How did they get here? Well, in tournament action yesterday, Polk State dropped Panola dropped 3-0 to Polk State yesterday to get into a matchup earlier today and then beat Wallace State 3-0 for Western Nebraska. It was a 3-1 loss yesterday to New Mexico Military Institute. Then winners over Monroe. It was a 2:42 p.m. finish in 5 sets, and that game there, that match is what kind of put us behind for the rest of the day, as we've seen the other matches that ended up then starting later, supposed to start at 2:30, start later, go to 5 sets as well. Both of those last contests did just that. So here we are, just about a minute and 20 seconds away from getting this one underway. John Harding, you've been watching these two teams warm up. You've been looking over the stats from the season and the stats from today. What can we expect between Panola and Western Nebraska?
Well, I think Western Nebraska is going to be wanting to prove something after that early loss to New Mexico yesterday, and I think they did that in battling back today, and they both look like they have a very well-balanced attack from their season statistics. Western Nebraska maybe just slightly better in team hitting percentage, and looking for Brooke Ka'awa. What's that? I'm not sure how to say the last name there.
Kava.
Yeah, Kava. She's got over 3 kills per set, so she's obviously one of their main go-to players, and be interesting to see how she starts off the match and if she can continue that against the Panola squad.
Kava had 14 kills against Monroe earlier today. Bartley, her teammate, also had 14, and Masaki had 12. So very capable for the Lady Cougars to kill it, and they actually do that over 12 times per set. But you look at the Phillies of Panola College, they do the same, and a tick higher at 12.81 kills per set. 12-2 on a neutral court are the Phillies, and 9-2 on neutral floors are the Lady Cougars. Keep it here. We'll take a look at those starting lineups after this.
NJCAA fans, the brand new NJCAA store is here. Visit shop.njcaa.org now to find the best NJCAA branded merchandise on the market. On your first order, be sure to use the promo code WELCOME10 and you'll receive 10% off your first order. With orders of $75 or more, you'll receive free shipping anywhere in the United States. So what are you waiting for? Visit shop.njcaa.org now and get your NJCAA gear today.
In the sports arena, getting set for Panola, the 8 seed, 26-7, to take on Western Nebraska, the 4 seed, 33-7. The Lady Cougars finished the season ranked number 4 in the nation. The Phillies ranked number 9. We're getting ready for starting lineups, also getting ready to go to the national anthem. As we await that, John Harding, a lot of great competition we've seen today. A lot of times it's about momentum. And as we get later into the bracket here, we've seen a lot go to the 5 sets.
Well, I think the matchups just get a lot more even the further along we go. And that's just stepped on my cord there. That's the reason we see those.
It is time for the national anthem. We turn it over to public address announcer Steve Carpenter. Bob Parks with the national anthem to get us set up for today's starting lineups. Brought to you by Daphinie Correa, the official volleyball of the NJCAA. Looking first at the away team on the scoreboard, the Phillies of Panola College, keeping it pretty much the same as yesterday. Number 1, 6'1" middle out of Sao Paulo, Brazil, Daphinie Correa. Number 3, Cayman Sutton, 5'8" setter out of White Oak, Texas, the sophomore. Number 12, a 5'11" freshman from East Bernard, Texas, Rebecca Rabias. Number 15, Caitlin Adams, a 5'11" sophomore from Longview, Texas. Jacqueline Da Silva, number 17, 5'11" sophomore, also from Brazil. Barbara Sabino, a 6'2" sophomore in the middle from Sao Paulo, Brazil. The libero, Hannah Ramirez, 5'6" freshman out of Texas. Looking at the 32-6 Lady Cougars, coached by Benny Canales. Assisted by Kyla Kikugawa. Jamie Commons, a 5'8" freshman setter out of Nebraska. She'll get the nod in this one. Sienna Masaki, a 5'9" setter from Hawaii. Genesis Benitez, the libero, wears number 4 at 5'2" out of Puerto Rico, the sophomore. Brooke Kava, 5'9" sophomore from Hawaii. Number 10, Joyce Maldonado, a 6'2" outside hitter from Puerto Rico. Then it's Kaylee Tuisa Matatelli, a 5'11" freshman from Hawaii. And Kadara Marshall, number 13, a 5'9" middle outside hitter as well, the sophomore from Hawaii. Your lineups brought to you by Daphinie Correa, the official volleyball of the NJCAA. So you mentioned Ka'ava for the Lady Cougars. Looking at the Phillies lineup, anyone there that jumps out to you?
Well, I believe the other day when we were watching them play, it was Adams, if I remember right. Is that right? Caitlin Adams. I kind of remember being impressed with her and on the right side, and she did a great job of in the game against Polk State. Even though they lost that in 3, she kind of kept them in that game.
She had 10 kills to lead her team earlier today against Wallace State.
And looks like she's leading them in kills per set and one of their top hitters percentage-wise too.
Making some final movements, getting adjusted to go. The libero in for Western Nebraska. It's Genesis Benitez. And the Phillies of Panola College will start this one off. Damon Sutton, just send it away. The officials are ready. We are ready. The ball is in the air. Set up, blocked back. Ka'ava had it sent back by Correa.
It's tough on those blocks because you're trying to cover, assuming it's going to go fairly straight down, and then a block goes deep, and everybody's just a little too far up.
Serve here to the back row. Setting it up, sent back. This one comes back wide. A point to Western Nebraska. Kava. Looking for instructions from Benny Canales. Blocked a little bit by the line judge, so she had to get a peek around there to get the call. Dumped across and down off the touch by Adams.
And another ball. Every ball so far has been touched by the block, either in for a point or off the block and out of bounds for a point.
Robbie is now to serve. Picked up, set up for Bartley. Bartley to the back row to Ramirez. And the Phillies able to score again.
And that was a great job by the setter, Sutton, noticing that the right side hitter for Western Nebraska was not ready on defense and just dumping it in behind her as she was transitioning.
Robius serves it in again. Set up for Bartley. Through the block by Correa. Now back to Adams. Up in the air for Bartley on the other side. She worked her way to the other side of the court to knock that one through. Phillies bring it back. Lady Cougars working it to Masaki. Poked through on the dunk by Sutton, but too long. Score to the Lady Cougars.
And again, Sutton just seeing them playing up a little far and trying to take advantage of that. That must have been out by just a hair from our view. It looked like it was going to land in.
Kadara Marshall. Serves it over to the Phillies. Setting it up to Correa. Sent over by Masaki. Far side, the kill to Jacqueline De Silva. The libero Ramirez. Sends it to the middle of the back row. Popped up for Bartley. Bartley into the block. Misjudged a little bit by Tuisa Montatelli. The Lady Cougars will control it here to Masaki. Blocked back and out of bounds. 4-3 Phillies.
And they're really utilizing all their hitters the best they can at this point, and just got to see whose defense is going to be a little stronger as we progress.
Kirsty Trees serves it up. The attack set up to Sabino, and it lands out of bounds. Tied at 4.
It's not a struggle on the pass there, and really nothing the setter could do with it. Just tried to save it.
5-4 now. First time Western Nebraska has led. And we're back tied after the service error into the net. Tied 3 times already in the early goings of this one. Set number 1 and match number 20. The winner trying to advance into the 9th place game. The loser will be done. There's a service there. That attack long.
So lots of rotating. We're getting to see all 6 rotations early on here. They've been trading points back and forth.
Sienna Masaki serves it to the middle of that back row. Set up on the attack through the block goes De Silva. And the Phillies will get the point. Tied at 6. From the 10-foot line, attacked by Masaki. Came back from the Phillies, and Kava able to punch it through.
Yeah, over dig, and I don't think they want to be doing that too many times. She knows how to take care of those in the front row.
Tapped across from Sabino. Into the block goes Kava. She tries again. Back row to De Silva. Set up for Rabius. Lady Cougars with it. Was that touched at the net? It was. So the point to Western Nebraska and Kava. 2-point advantage is the largest here for the Lady Cougars. Ranked number 4 nationally at season's end. Seeded 4th here in this tournament. Ball blocked at the net and down. Good work by Kadara Marshall. Couple of efforts there. Three-point advantage, Western Nebraska on a 3-0 run. Set up. The attack way too strong from Sabino. Timeout will be taken by Panola. Down 10-6 to the Lady Cougars of Western Nebraska.
NJCAA fans, the brand new NJCAA store is here. Visit shop.njcaa.org now to find the best NJCAA branded merchandise on the market. On your first order, be sure to use the promo code WELCOME10 and you'll receive 10% off your first order. With orders of $75 or more, you'll receive free shipping anywhere in the United States. So what are you waiting for? Visit shop.njcaa.org now and get your NJCAA gear today.
Keep up with the latest news and updates regarding NJCAA volleyball by visiting the official website of the National Junior College Athletic Association at www.njcaa.org. In this one, it's 10-6 so far in set number 1 for Western Nebraska. Early on, it was Panola, and Western Nebraska, after tying it up at 4, kind of found a little bit of a groove.
Yeah, they have. I think it's just playing to their strengths right now, and a great job of covering. The few times they've been blocked, they've gotten that ball back up and given themselves an opportunity for an extra swing.
And assist Benitez. 5'2" sophomore will get us going out of the timeout. Flat-footed serve from the left corner. Set up for Rabius. Blocked back by Marshall. Rabius again over the top of the double block. Nice dig to keep it alive by Trees. On the attack, Kava. Over now to Sabino. Here come the Lady Cougars. Kava through the double block. Set up, poked across by the Phillies, Castile. That one came back into the net from the Lady Cougars. Much needed point goes to the Phillies.
It's a lot of good opportunities there. Trying to use the back row attack, and she was trying to just be a little sneaky and put one just over the net and wasn't successful.
Barbara Sabino, the serve. Dumped across by Commons. And down now for the Lady Cougars. Serena Bartley back in out of Ridgefield, Washington. Started in this match. Attack is long from Rabius. Started in this match, Bartley did. in favor today of Lauren Schall, who got the start when we saw Western Nebraska yesterday. Jamie Commons, long on the serve, service error.
And that may have just been a rotation thing. It might have been something the coach noticed and wanted a little bigger block or a bigger hitter out there on the right side.
Cayman Sutton just does clear the net. Tapped over the block by Kahava. The libero calls for it. It's Benitez setting it up for Kahava. And it went wide, but off of the block. So point to Western Nebraska.
And that was a great job of just realizing that ball was tight, and she just pushed it off their hands and out of bounds for a point.
Brooke Kahava. The middle blocker to serve. It's a jump serve from the middle. Controlled by the Phillies. Attack attempt goes into the net for Caitlin Adams.
And Panola's struggling a little bit with their hitting. They've had a lot of attack errors here early in this first set.
When you have a lot of mishits, what does that come down to? Part of it may be mental errors. What's perhaps the other part of it?
Well, it could be just not a good connection with the setter. Maybe the set was a little low or a little higher than what you were expecting. It could be trying to do too much sometimes with a set too. That's what I think happens a lot. Is it's not a great set, but the person still tries to go get a kill instead of sometimes you got to keep it alive and kind of just give yourself another opportunity to get a swing later in the rally.
Service error here by Kahava. It's 15-9, and on that note, as Western Nebraska leads it by 6, sometimes does the ball rotation throw you off a little bit sometimes?
I don't. Usually the setter is going to set you a pretty clean ball, so if it's spinning a bunch, they're probably getting called for a double by the ref, but it's only if you're maybe getting a bump set from a non-setter or something like that could cause that. I think a lot of it's just a mental trying to do too much with a ball that you shouldn't do that much with.
Benitez went wide. 15-10 now for Western Nebraska. Controlled off the serve by Rabias. Attack from Masaki. Dumped across by Sutton. Controlled back to Masaki. Into the block by Correa. Tapped across at the net by Marshall. Powerful pound by Adams, but it was controlled and back over the net. Tap across by Correa. Bartley dug it. Masaki into the block and out of bounds. Western Nebraska has it.
And in the middle of that play, I believe it was Correa just did a great job. That set was kind of not great, a little low. She just, like you said, tapped it over, kind of went for the tip and didn't try to swing hard. And if she would have, I think she would have had an error. So that's kind of what you have to do when the set's not perfect.
Beautiful kill by Daphinie Correa. Since we were tied at 6, it's been a 10-5 run by Western Nebraska to lead this one by 5. Looking to gain control back, it's Hack. Gets in there for Bartley.
That was a nice cut shot to the far side. It's a tough spot to dig from. You don't usually expect that shot, and she did a good job of just keeping it just in bounds.
Timeout taken by Panola. It's 17-11. We're back after this. Fans, Tachikara is proud to be the official volleyball of the NJCAA and has generously provided all balls for NJCAA National Championship play for over 30 years. Tachikara, we've got the ball, you bring the game. In this consolation round number 2, Western Nebraska leads set number 1, 17-11, over the Panola College Phillies.
And it's really been a difference of Western Nebraska being able to stay in system with their passing and be able to have a lot of options on their sets, and Panola being a little out of system and kind of being forced to be a little bit one-dimensional, which is easier to defend, of course.
Out of the timeout, Kirsty Trees gets us going again. Set by Sutton. Kill in there by Jacqueline Da Silva.
As much as I said Adams is kind of the key, I think Da Silva too, yesterday she got a little flustered and they struggled when she was frustrated in that game against Polk State. And when she's on and emotionally in a good place, that definitely helps her game.
Flat-footed left-hand serve from Kinley Carter in there for Panola College. Western Nebraska makes the most of it, 18-12. Cammie Copeland, new face in there for the Phillies as well. And a service error for Western Nebraska.
Other than the service errors, things have been going pretty well for Western Nebraska so far in this set.
Something that we've seen, it's just been strange to me, and maybe not strange overall, but the team that has the most service errors has been leading most of the matches.
And that is interesting. You've mentioned that a couple times, and I don't know if there's any great reason for that. The only reason might just be that they're a little more aggressive. Maybe they're getting more opportunities to serve because they are winning.
Set up for Sabino. Wide on that attack. 20-13, Western Nebraska. Shayla Eugene, Fort Worth, Texas. Enters for the Phillies at 5'2". Ball set by Kinley Carter. And it was hit into the antenna. Eight-point advantage for Western Nebraska. The Lady Cougars looking to close out set number one. Into the back row and too deep. Service error.
Panola's using a lot more, seems to be using a lot more players in their lineup right now than they did yesterday when they played.
Barbara Sabino, flat-footed serve, controlled by Kava, and double contact. The advantage for Western Nebraska cut to 6. Played in by Sabino, just cleared the net. Controlled on a dive by Masaki, and another double contact. Back-to-back double contact. Gives points back-to-back to the Phillies. I had a choice between back-to-back contact and double-double contact, so I went with back-to-back. That one killed by Kadara Marshall. And the Lady Cougars are 3 points away from finishing set one.
And both those doubles were just caused from, a tough serve and a poor pass, and somebody had to take that out of position, and that's what caused it.
Rabius went into the block. Marshall was there to send it back. 23-16, Western Nebraska.
Marshall's doing a great job of just moving on the block and being ready.
Jamie Commons pops it up to Kava. Controlled by the Phillies. Tapped over the double block by Rabius. Correa tried to slap one in there, couldn't quite do it, but Bartley will through the arms of the libero, Hannah Ramirez. We're at set point. Another substitution being made for the Phillies. Jasmine Sanchez. Commons the serve. Into the back row. Sliding reception by Eugene. Tapped across by Sanchez. Controlled by Commons. Set up for Kava. And that'll do it for set number one. The Lady Cougars win it 25-16 to go up 1-0 over the Phillies of Panola College.
center lane. Winds up, shot, and a goal!
2 seconds to go.
Rangers, a long three. Oh my goodness!
It's a walk-off base hit for Michael Smith.
It's an Olympico and a goal for Paradise Valley, J.C. Duncan.
Well, there's the feed into Rodriguez to jam.
Fans, you can follow all the action of the 2017 NJCAA Fall Sport National Championships live on NJCAA TV. Go to www.njcaatv.com to view live and archived broadcasts of the national tournaments for soccer, volleyball, and football. NJCAA TV is also available on Apple TV, Amazon Fire, Android TV, and Roku streaming platforms. NJCAA TV, the official digital video network of the NJCAA. First set goes to Western Nebraska. What did they do differently to give them the advantage in that one?
Well, I think it goes back to what we talked about originally, just being in system more. They hit 355 on 31 attacks, and Panola hit negative 100 on 30 attacks. So a lot of Panola's errors, I think, were because they were out of system. They weren't able to run the plays they wanted, and so they were maybe taking swings on balls that were really not as hittable as they thought, and they just needed to be balls that maybe need to be kept in play or just placed in a tough spot and hope to get something easier back to be able to run their offense the next time around.
Now, I want to note that earlier today, I made a reference to Fits and the Tantrums,
yes.
And it is currently playing in the arena as we are in between sets number 1 and 2. Everyone looked at me as if they didn't know who Fits and the Tantrums were, so if there was any question, this is their song, Hand Clap. A big thank you to some of our 2017 NJCAA volleyball sponsors, Fairfield Inn and Suites, Holiday Inn Express, Tyson Prepared Foods, Applebee's, Man, Wyatt and Rice, KFSA, and Jimmy John's.
Now, is this their only song?
Not their only song.
Okay. Their song?
Their best song that
okay.
was, you know how it takes a little bit something different for a song to become a hit. And this is one of those songs that did it for them.
It's had something catchy to it.
Their most recent hit, Fool, was picked up by a lot of different stations across the country. Did not chart quite as well as Hand Clap.
Good old Hand Clap. Okay, here we go. To answer your question, it's the Ponies, and the women's teams are called the Phillies.
Okay, so the question was, for Panola College, is there a difference for the mascot between the men's and women's team? We thought the answer had to be yes, but we wanted to double check. So Johnny on the spot, John Harding has it figured out for us. And we're set for set number 2. Jamie Commons, the honors. Picked up by Robius. Slammed down and through by Caitlin Adams.
And that's the key. If they can pass well enough to run their offense and set who they want to set, instead of just having to set whoever's on the outside or the back row, then they're going to be much more effective and be able to stay in the match.
All set up for Bartley. Controlled by Da Silva, and the dump into the net. She knew it, and she takes, I guess you can't say credit for it, but Sutton says, my bad.
Responsibility.
Thank you. Responsibility.
You don't want to take credit for that.
Kava sends it across. Correa, too hot to handle for Benitez.
And again, another pass right where it's supposed to be, and able to set their middle hitter and put it down for the kill.
Hannah Ramirez to serve. Jump serve goes to Kava. Bartley through the double block. Overpass knocked back through by Kadara Marshall.
And that's kind of the goal of the serving game is, you want to be able to receive serve well enough to pass and stay in system, and you want to serve tough enough to take the other team out of the system, make them pass a bad pass.
Ball taken by Robius. Set up for Da Silva. Controlled by the Lady Cougars. Back line. Sliding dig by Marshall. Set by Da Silva. Tapped over and returned by the Lady Cougars. Attack attempt from Adams. Coming back on the overpass and set back down by Sabino.
Western Nebraska wanting the call that she interfered with the ball before it crossed the plane of the net, but the official said it clearly had crossed the plane of the net before she touched it.
Attack from Tuisa Mottatelli. Controlled by the Phillies. And the Phillies will score. Molly Harris, the setter from Tyler, Texas. Serving for Panola College. Coached by Amber McRae in her 4th season. Commons sets it up for Bartley. Bartley through the block. Set up by Harris, knocked down by Da Silva.
It's a great set, a lot of power on that one. And Panola seems to be getting their groove a little bit better this game, being able to stay in system and be aggressive with their attacks.
Masaki hit it into the outstretched arms and the block of Sabino. And as one of the tallest players on the court that we'll see from either roster, the 6'2" Sabino sends it back.
And that was just a straight solo block, so great job by her being in the exact right position.
Tapped across this time by Tuisa Mottatelli. Panola with a 3-point advantage in set number 2, trying to tie this up as Western Nebraska leads it by 1. Received by Da Silva. Set up for Rabius, she'll be long on the attack. Kirsty Trees to serve. Tapped across by the Phillies. It's Barbara Sabino.
I like what they're trying to do, serving to Da Silva to kind of take her out of the hitting. Rotates back to serving now, so they've got to worry about somebody else here in the front row.
From the right corner, Da Silva. Set by Commons to Masaki. Western Nebraska cuts the Panola lead to 2.
Panola coaches urging the blockers to set the block better.
And the answer back by Sabino.
And she makes up for her misplaced block by getting a kill right there.
Into the double block, which goes back out of bounds. Point to Western Nebraska. Kava.
And the Panola coach really emphasizing the blocking and where she wants to block and how she wants them to hold their hands to try to take away certain areas of the court from the hitters.
Genesis Benitez goes into the net for the service error. 3-point advantage, Panola. Cayman Sutton. Jump serve. Received by Trees. Set up for Kava. Brought back by the Phillies. Into the double block went Marshall. Waiting there for that ball to come back was Correa. Give credit to Rabius as well.
And it's interesting the difference between the two setters that Panola's using. Sutton definitely likes to attack that second ball over quite often. And the other setter is a little more content to just set her hitters and let them take care of it.
This time, Brooke Kava is long on the attack. 11-6 Panola. Jump serve from Sutton. Ball set up for Kava. Back the other side to the Phillies, and the attack is long for Jacqueline Da Silva. Serena Bartley into the contest, had 14 kills against Monroe earlier today. Ball set up and knocked down by Caitlin Adams.
With some strong serves here. They have a good hitting lineup in the front row right now.
There's Bartley on the attack. Controlled by the Phillies. Correa looked strong on her attack, but dug out. Set up here to Da Silva, and she's wide.
Just needs to transition a little better, keep that ball in front of her so she can use her power.
All the way back as far as she can go is Kava. Sends the ball across. Set up for Adams. Tapped it over. Now pushed across by Correa. Through the double block goes Bartley. Set up again for Correa, and this time she got it down.
That was against almost no block, really. I think there was just some confusion about who was blocking what on that by the Western Nebraska team.
Largest lead of the set, back to 5 for Panola. Ramirez the serve. Set up for Bartley. Into the double block, sent back by Adams. This time over the double block goes Bartley. Set up other side, tapped through by Da Silva. She knew that Marshall was coming to block it down, so she put some finesse on it. It's now the largest lead in set number 2 for Panola at 6. Keep up with the latest news and updates regarding NJCAA volleyball by visiting the official website of the National Junior College Athletic Association at www.njcaa.org. Here in set number 2, it's 14-8. Panola trying to tie this back up after dropping the first set to Western Nebraska 25-16.
And almost a complete reversal of hitting percentages from the first set. Western Nebraska hit 355 in the first set, and Panola hit -100, and Panola's hitting 238 now, and Western Nebraska hitting just 050. So it's kind of been who can pass and who can stay in system, and it's definitely been a switch from set 1 to set 2.
Served up out of the timeout by Ramirez. Commons the set for Bartley. Tried to tap it through. Blocked back by Adams. Joust at the net between Da Silva and Masaki. Tapped over just into a soft spot by Kava.
And that was one of those plays by Masaki that she knew she couldn't hit that ball hard, and she just hit it off the block almost on purpose back up to her own team so they could get another opportunity to swing.
Darla Marshall to serve. Sutton sets it up for Da Silva. Brought back into the net by Masaki.
Now that was one like you were talking about earlier that had a lot of spin on it, mostly because it was a bump set and may have affected her ability to hit that one. And she kind of hit it off the heel of her hand and didn't get a good contact.
Is the bump set only used out of necessity?
Yeah, and sometimes used by maybe non-setters because they don't want them to get called for a double.
Phillies have to work hard to get this one across. Castile does, and it comes out wide. 15-10 now, Panola.
And a lot of times the libero will bump set because she doesn't want to she can't set with her hands in front of the 10-foot line, and so she'll have to bump set.
The largest lead of the set at 6, cut back now to 5. Up high, down hard, Barbara Sabino.
Sabino's really come on strong in this second set.
Misaki gets it across. Ball set by Harris. Far side to Castile. Able to get the touch. Panola has its largest lead now at 7. Looking to win set number 2 and tie us up at 1 set apiece. Misaki into the double block. It was the awaiting arms again of Barbara Sabino. The double block was set, had a little bit of help from Castile. Lead is 8. Panola trying to score again, making it tough on Western Nebraska. Not receiving off the serve well the last 2 times. Sabino just tried to tap one down. Keeping it alive is Ramirez. Phillies got to get it across. They do. Controlled by Trees and short-armed by Misaki.
Well, Matt, finally they had a ball that was in system, and I don't know what happened there, but her timing on her attack was off, and she left the ball short.
Into the net. Goes to Silva. Service error. 19-11 Panola.
Kavaz in the front row now, so we'll see if they can gain any momentum with that.
Ball set up for Rabius. Comes back across from Kava. And she'll get the point for Western Nebraska. This serve is long from Kava.
It looked like the line judge did it a little more like we talked about earlier. She seemed to be focused on the spot she was expecting and waiting for the ball to get there instead of trying to follow it with her eyes the whole way.
Of all the line judges we've seen here that I have observed, ball blocked back at the net. She's the most intense. You know, a lot of them get into it. They get down into that stance, that linebacker stance, straddling the corner over there. And you can see it in her eyes. She's very concentrated on where that ball will end up.
I think the coaches and the players all appreciate that. 'Cause, okay, the person's taking it serious. They're not just standing there and sort of calling whatever happens.
Ball to the back row to Eugene. Tapped across by Rabius. She'll get it to go down. The sliding Trees couldn't get there for the pancake. Timeout taken by Western Nebraska. Down by 10 in set number 2. Get back.
NJCAA fans, the brand new NJCAA store is here. Visit shop.njcaa.org now to find the best NJCAA branded merchandise on the market. On your first order, be sure to use the promo code WELCOME10 and you'll receive 10% off your first order. With orders of $75 or more, you'll receive free shipping anywhere in the...
Everyone remain. Welcome back into the sports arena. National Volleyball Tournament. Panola in charge of set number 2, up by 10. Rabius over to Benitez. Sent long. Is there a touch? She wanted one, but Kava will not get one.
Yeah, she seemed. It's funny. I think the hitters always want touches, from what I noticed, like with my own team and watching some of these teams, and then, they just assume if they hit it out, the person must have touched it.
I'd like to thank some of our 2017 NJCAA volleyball sponsors: Sam's Club, Building Control Systems, Rib Crib, Stratica, Cosmosphere, Lawrence Paper Company, and Advanced Physical Therapy. 2 more points will close this one out for Panola. Maldonado trying to change that, and she's long on the attack. Chance for the Phillies to tie it up. Substitution made. Lauren Shaw.
I think Coach Canales is just trying to do anything he can to shift the momentum right now and mess with the groove that Panola's got going.
I believe it's the first time we've seen Shaw in this match. And a service error by Sabino.
Well, and he's out of timeout, so he's just using his subs to kind of break the momentum instead of trying to call a timeout.
And the reason that's important, Lauren Shaw, 5'7" defensive specialist, actually started yesterday. And the Phillies have finished off set number 2, 25-13. We're tied at 1 apiece.
Lane winds up shot and a goal. 2 seconds ago.
Rangers, a long 3. Oh my goodness!
It's a walk-off base hit for Michael Smith.
It's an Olympico and a goal for Paradise Valley, J.C. Duncan.
Well, there's the feed into Rodriguez to jam.
Keep up with the latest news and updates regarding NJCAA volleyball by visiting the official website of the National Junior College Athletic Association at www.njcaa.org. We've waved goodbye to a few teams in this tournament. That would be Eastern Arizona, Hutchinson Community College, Wallace State, and Monroe. We'll say goodbye to one more team after this one. The other game going on across the court between St. Pete's and Laramie County. We'll send another team home as well. And right now, all 4 teams trying not to be that team that is done this evening.
Yep, trying to get one more win and push yourself into that match tomorrow morning and an opportunity to at least finish 9th place. But, as we talked about earlier, almost exactly a flip-flop. Western Nebraska hit negative that set, and Panola hit a little over 300, and that's the exact opposite of what happened in the first set. So it'll be interesting to see if Western Nebraska can turn it back around or if the momentum will remain with the Phillies of Panola College.
Thank you to some of our fine 2017 NJCAA volleyball sponsors: Alan Samuels, Chrysler Dodge, Jeep Ram Mazda, Carlos O'Kelly's, Freddy's Frozen Custard and Steak Burgers, Cruise Corporation, Edward Jones, Darren Wicks, Financial Advisor. It's day number 2 of volleyball action in the Hutchinson Sports Arena on Sam Butterfield Court. Tomorrow for Championship Saturday, we'll go back to one court. The bleachers will come down, and the teams that remain will have a different look than they've had these first 2 days, especially maybe when serving. Does that change any when you go from one full court when you've been used to the first 2 days going sideways and 2 games going on at once and a different backdrop?
I mean, it could. I could see that having a little bit of effect, but I feel like, again, these teams have just done this so many times over the course of the year, playing in tournaments and different venues and potentially from day to day, even a different court. So I I don't see it making a huge difference, but we might see it at the beginning of the first set tomorrow in each match. Maybe there's a little bit, but they get that time to warm up, and they get almost everybody serves during part of their warm up, so they get a chance to kind of get a feel for it during their warm up time.
Both of these teams good on neutral courts. The Phillies are 12-2 on the season, and the Lady Cougars 9-2 in neutral court contests. Tied here at 1. Cayman Sutton to serve. Received in the middle of the back row by Genesis Benitez. Sutton sets it up for Adams. Gets through the block. The Lady Cougars control it. Nice diving save there by Da Silva to keep it alive for the Phillies. Continuing to give them a chance. Dug out by Ramirez. Tapped across by Da Silva. Commons over to Bartley, but double contact.
Maybe try to do a little too much with that ball. I like the idea of going back over to the right side, but the pass was just a little low, and it was a challenge to get it over there.
Ball tapped short, comes down in the front row, and the Lady Cougars somehow managed to get it back with a smile on her face. Masaki sent it back. Thrown down by Arabius. Controlled by Western Nebraska. Joust at the net. Tapped across now by Arabius. Sent over by Benitez. Setting it up for Correa, and this one will not be returned. (2-0) Panola. Set number 3. Commons to Masaki. And falling all the way back to keep that one going was Benitez. She had to make a decision as she was falling back whether or not it was going to be long. She was 2 feet maybe from that back line, and at 5'2", made the decision to jump up and get it.
Yeah, just a well-placed ball. Tough decision for her. And Western Nebraska's been out of system to start the third set here.
Bump set for Commons, not a good one. Left in a gray area where you don't know if it's going to get over the net or not. And it comes back on the Lady Cougars side. It's 4-0 to start set number 3 for Panola. Masaki over to Bartley. Phillies to Correa. Blocked at the net by Marshall. And then confusion as to who was going to come back and get it once Marshall sent it over the net.
Having some sweat issues here and people are slipping. Luckily we have some young ladies volunteering to get out there and take care of that. We've had that issue at some matches before. It's not that hot in here. I think it's just some players a little more sweaty than others for some reason. And
definitely seen that more today than yesterday, but on each end, as you mentioned, volunteer with game management, able to go out with a towel and keep things clean. We saw them yesterday more so than the floor, wiping the balls off.
Yes.
And today wiping the floor more than the ball. Service there from Western Nebraska. It's 5-1. Bartley into the double block. It comes back wide. Western Nebraska gets their second point.
It's always an interesting thing with the doubles because a lot of people want every time they see spin on the ball, they think there should be a double called, but the ball can have spin without a truly touching it twice or not touching it with your 2 hands simultaneously.
Blocked at the net by Masaki, and that's what I want to ask you about. How do you put spin on it without getting double contact?
Well, think about it, if you have both hands and you just kind of flick your wrist, you can put spin on it without double contacting it. It looks, I think you have to look at the direction of the spin. If the spin is a sideways spin, then it's more likely that it's a double. If it's a front or back spin, it may just been poor contact, but not necessarily a double.
Attack wide for Masaki, so more in the wrists than in the finger placement.
Yes, and sometimes that just happens, not intentionally. It's just
Attack just a little bit long that time for the Phillies. De Silva couldn't keep it in.
And so I think the fans and some coaches will be, wanting more doubles called than they're getting. And I think as long as the official is consistent in what they're calling for each team, then it's not a lot to be frustrated by.
Unable to control it on the backside. Kava, the middle of that back row. It's 7-4 Panola. In to serve, Molly Harris. Sent over to Trees. Dumped across by Commons. The setup from Ramirez. Over to De Silva, blocked back. Over the double block now goes Castile. Up for Masaki. Poked across by the Phillies. Lady Cougars have to get it over on this one. Kava does. Set it up for De Silva into the double block. Controlled by Trees. Slapped down and in. Masaki.
It's a good decision by Commons early in that rally to go ahead and hit that over. I think if she'd have tried to set it, she was going to be in the net, and she had a good feel for that and made a good decision.
Masaki the serve. Received by De Silva. Into the back row from Kava. The slam by Melanie Castile.
Western Nebraska, their block has not been well formed for a lot of the night, and it makes it very difficult for their back row players to know where they should be playing.
Ball came back to the Phillies off of the serve, and then when the Phillies sent it back, the Lady Cougars weren't ready. Back to its largest lead, Panola back up by 4. De Silva sends it across. Commons over to Kava for the kill. Kava, her 10th kill of the contest.
It's been a quiet 10, but she's steady. She doesn't make a ton of mistakes, doesn't make a lot of errors, keeps the ball in play when she doesn't get a great set, and waits for that next opportunity.
Genesis Benitez. Serves it across. Change of direction midair for De Silva. Kava. Tapped it across. The Phillies poke it across. Benitez. All the way back this side to Kava. Now the Lady Cougars need to get it across. They do. It's Brooke Kava.
Very calm and clearly looking at the other side of the court and seeing what's available before she hits.
De Silva into the block by Marshall. De Silva gets the point. We're tied at a set apiece between Western Nebraska and Panola. One team will go home. One team will play for 9th place tomorrow here in the sports arena. Marshall slams it down.
Finally, a good enough pass for them to get her involved in the offense.
Serena Bartley comes back in for Western Nebraska. She has 3 kills. Had 10 earlier today against Monroe. Ball sent high by Panola. Picked up by Benitez at the net. Showing she was straight up at the net, knocking it down, Rabius.
Commons was there, but just couldn't get it up and playable for her teammates.
3-point lead for Panola. Served by Sutton. Commons to Bartley. Bartley blocked by Correa. It was the double block as she had help from Adams.
And Western Nebraska keeps kind of cutting it to 2, but they can't get any closer than that, it seems like.
Largest lead for Panola, back up to 4. Kicked by Kava. Got it over the net. Here come the Phillies. Double block set up, but Benitez never got it there, just hit it into the net. It's now the largest lead in set number 3 for the Phillies of Panola College. We're back after this timeout. Correa, proud to be the official volleyball of the NJCAA and has generously provided all balls for NJCAA National Championship play for over 30 years. Tachi Correa, we've got the ball. You bring the game. The game was brought earlier today in set number 1 by Western Nebraska. Since then, pretty much, John Harding, it's been Panola.
That's for sure. They just continue to pass just a little bit better, and it's amazing like how their attitude, how the way they carry themselves can change from set to set. Just the first set, you could tell Panola was frustrated and kind of wondering why they were struggling, and they came back in that second set and started out strong and have definitely carrying themselves with a lot more confidence right now.
Service error out of the timeout. Western Nebraska will pick up a point. Kava serves it in. Tapped across by Adams. Set up here for Masaki. Got it through the block, set up by Correa. Point Western Nebraska, back-to-back points.
And this will be key right here because they cut the lead to 2 several times when Kava was in the front row, and now she's in the back row. We'll see who's going to step up for Western Nebraska.
Largest lead for Panola was at 5 moments ago. It's back up to 4 after the service error from Masaki. Ball into the net on the return by the Lady Cougars, and they won't. They will get it.
Yeah, that was well, Correa had a going up to block, caught her hand on the net, and got called for the net violation.
Ball set up for De Silva, blocked back by Serena Bartley.
That ball was tight, and the block penetrated nicely and didn't give her really any opportunity to do anything with that set.
Here's a serve that's wide from Marshall. So right as the Lady Cougars cut it to 2, it's back up to 3 just like that. Tapped across from the Phillies. Good job by Sabino.
And back to 4 again.
Sutton sets it up for De Silva. Silva the tap across. Set up here for Western Nebraska and Masaki. And it's wide. 5-point lead. Ties the largest lead here in set number 3 for Panola.
Western Nebraska really relying on their outside hitters, and they're just not able to put the ball down right now.
Bartley into the block from De Silva. Set up for Masaki. Dug up by Ramirez. Violation at the net.
Adams was in the net on that one.
4-point lead for Panola. Kirsty Trees the jump serve. Taken in the back row. Set up at the net. for Adams. Now tapped across by De Silva. Here comes Masaki. In the back, it's Ramirez. Set up for De Silva again. Masaki the tap across. Diving to keep it in play, Sutton. Joust at the net, won by Jacqueline De Silva.
Commons kind of poked at it and pulled her hands back and gave De Silva the opportunity to have the last touch.
Panola has led 3 times, separate occasions by 5, never able to push the lead in set number 3 to 6. Commons over to Masaki. Taken in the back row by Copeland. De Silva to the back row for the Lady Cougars. At the net, Tuisa Montatelli. Phillies bring it back. Set up for Tuisa Montatelli, and she'll get the point for the Lady Cougars.
And they need a little more of that from their middle hitters if they're going to get back in this set and get back in this match.
Serve from Masaki. Not received well by the Phillies. What was once 5 is now a 3-point lead for Panola. Lady Cougars on the serve from Masaki. Harris to De Silva. De Silva through the double block, got it down.
It's that 3-point barrier. Can't quite get down under that and put the pressure on Panola.
Panola can't stretch it to more than 5. Western Nebraska can't cut it to more than 3. They did get it to 2 moments ago, but mostly been at that 3. And it's back to 3 after a service error.
Here's another great opportunity for them.
Can Western Nebraska capitalize? Genesis Benitez. 5'2" sophomore libero. Plays it in, and Jacqueline De Silva tried to tap one across, didn't get enough on it to get it over the net. That 3-point barrier has been broken. Now it is a 2-point lead for Panola. Benitez, long service error.
Oh, that's frustrating. Right there, ready to cut it down. They were in a good matchup rotation-wise. And
which reminds me, do you know how to spell frustrating? G-R-R-R.
Yeah.
Grr.
Spell it.
Set up by Commons.
It's just S-E in the stats, service error.
Oh, I see, S-E. 21-17 now for Panola. 4 points away from taking the lead after being down 1 set to none. Into the double block goes Ka'ava. Correa along with Castile able to send it back. Point Panola.
It all goes back to that service error. They had that opportunity to cut it to 1, and instead they're give the ball back to them. It goes to 3, and now they're down 4 again, 5.
Same play, different result. Ka'ava goes into the double block. The block comes back wide. Western Nebraska within 4. Set up by Harris, tapped over by Castile. Commons on the other side, the setup for Bartley. Off the block, controlled by Castile. Will be sent over by De Silva. On the back line, it was Benitez. Attack attempt from Masaki is good. Back within 3 of the Lady Cougars of Western Nebraska.
Still a good rotation here, I believe, for Western Nebraska. Good matchups in the front row for them. They need to serve tough and play some good defense, give themselves an opportunity.
Rabius into the double block. It will come back long. 23-19. The Phillies of Panola College threatening to end set number 3. Timeout will be taken by Benny Canales and the Lady Cougars of Western Nebraska. Down by 4.
NJCAA fans, the brand new NJCAA store is here. Visit shop.njcaa.org now to find the best NJCAA branded merchandise on the market. On your first order, be sure to use the promo code WELCOME10 and you'll receive 10% off your first order. With orders of $75 or more, you'll receive free shipping anywhere in the United States. So what are you waiting for? Visit shop.njcaa.org now and get your NJCAA gear today.
Fans, you can follow all the action of the 2017 NJCAA Fall Sport National Championships live on NJCAA TV. Go to www.njcaatv.com to view live and archived broadcasts of the national tournaments for soccer, volleyball, and football. NJCAA TV is also available on Apple TV, Amazon Fire, Android TV, and Roku streaming platforms. NJCAA TV, the official digital video network of the NJCAA. We'd like to thank some of our fine sponsors, including Cox Communications, Pizza Ranch, Sun Valley Inc., Walmart, Heartland Credit Union, Chick-fil-A, and the Atrium Hotel and Conference Center. Western Nebraska out of timeouts in set number 3. Did not receive that one well. And now it's set point for the Phillies. Cayman Sutton to serve. Bartley tapped it across. Overpass by Sutton. Lady Cougars get it across. Set up to Adams. Dug out by Western Nebraska. Dug again by Benitez. Commons to Bartley. Sutton got a hand on it. Correa calls for it. Sends it over. Commons to Masaki. Masaki to the back row. Received by Da Silva. Can Correa end it? She does. Daphinie Correa gets the final point for the Phillies of Panola College in set number 3, and Panola is up 2-1 after a 25-19 victory.
Zone. Caught. Touchdown.
The margin Olympico and a goal.
Winds up shot a goal. Unbelievable.
Keep up with the latest news and updates regarding NJCAA volleyball by visiting the official website of the National Junior College Athletic Association at www.njcaa.org. So we're about 10 minutes after 7. And the final matches of the day in the championship side of the bracket were set to start at 7:30. John Harding, we're not going to make it on time. But that's a good thing, because what does that tell us about these previous matches?
Tells us that they're all very competitive and people are playing either long games or going to 4 and 5 sets most of the time. And I was just looking at this records as we were going through that last set, and I thought it's interesting that these teams have had the same number of losses, but Western Nebraska has 7 more wins. And I wonder sometimes when you get to the end of the season if playing that 7 extra matches kind of leaves you a little more worn out and tired when you get to these championship things. I know I've looked at our schedule when I'm scheduling for my team, and I kind of think about how many matches do we want to play? You know, there's a point where if you don't play enough, you're not getting the opportunity to get better, and you're not getting the opportunity to play some teams and work on things. But maybe you can play too many and kind of wear your team out a little bit as the season goes along, instead of being fresh at the end when you need to be maybe your freshest.
In that same breath, both teams played at noon, but Panola able to get its game done a little bit faster. Western Nebraska did not finish up until 2:42 p.m. Remember, those next games were set to start at 2:30. That's where we started to get behind. But you wonder, too, how fresh you can be as well, having to turn around after a 2:42 p.m. finish and come back and play now this evening.
Yes, did Panola play? They did play at the same time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so yeah, I think that's a big factor, because how much time did they have to go, even just go back to the hotel and relax for maybe an hour and get some food and come back, or did they have time for that? Was it just get something quick to eat, come back, because you don't know how fast the match is going to go? Technically, we're supposed to start at 5:30. If things went fast, we might be back on time and need to be here and be ready to go by 5:30. We can't assume that it's going to be continue to run later and later and later throughout the night, even though it has.
Panola at the noon contest able to beat Wallace State in just 3. On the flip side, Western Nebraska was in a battle with Monroe that went 5 sets and lasted until 2:42 this afternoon. Thank you to some of our fine sponsors for this volleyball tournament: Sam's Club, Building Control Systems, Rib Crib, Stratica, Cosmosphere, Lawrence Paper Company, and Advanced Physical Therapy. Panola will start this one where it left off in the last set. First point to the Phillies. Jump serve from Robius. Ball set up for Marshall. Dug up by Robius. Sent back by the Phillies. Kaava sends it to the back row. Here's De Silva. Got it in.
The other thing I was wondering about is are we going to see Coach Canales try to change something after losing those 2 sets? Like we've seen the coaches in the previous matches some have made some pretty significant changes to their lineup to make their team kind of be competitive as the match went along.
A joust at the net ended up on its way back onto the Phillies side. And despite losing the point, Panola College slapping hands, saying that was a great effort by everyone.
And it's effort like that can kind of inspire everybody to keep working hard and fighting for this 3rd set win that they need to finish off the match.
Correa went into the double block, but it comes back wide. 3-1 Phillies. Ball received by Kava. Bartley through the double block. Dumped across by Sutton. Bartley puts it back in play for Kava. Set up on the other side by Sutton. De Silva hits it through Benitez. Bump set in for Bartley, and Bartley will kill it.
And that was just the block was not well formed, and she found the gap in there and was able to hit it to a spot not covered by the defense.
Serena Bartley with 4 kills. Had 10 against Monroe earlier today. Powerful putback here by Brooke Kava. We're tied at 3. Long serve from Kava. De Silva acted like she was going to tap it across. Or Sabino did. Then De Silva came through. And trouble controlling it. The lift by the Lady Cougars.
A lift called, and Coach Canales wanted to know who it was on. I think it's one of those instances where it probably was a good call, but when the player's backs to the referee, it's hard for them to see that, and it's sometimes maybe just an assumption that the person lifted it.
Kadara Marshall. It was set up for her, and she took advantage to tie us up at 4. Western Nebraska trying to force set number 5. Number 4 team in the nation at season's end. 4 seed in this tournament. Being pushed here by the 8 seed and 9th ranked Phillies of Panola College. Point to De Silva. Ball set up wide for Bartley. She had to adjust and stay grounded. Into the double block and returning out of bounds. Robius able to score for Panola.
And Nebraska, obviously, in their original plans, expecting or wanting to play on Saturday, and this is an opportunity to still do that, so they've got to find a second gear or find a little extra something in themselves to come back here and fight for this.
Benitez sets it up for Masaki. Masaki goes wide.
Ball was out, but Panola was in the net.
The officials say it was Sabino.
She just smiles over at the coach and says, oh well, keeps playing. It's not a bad attitude to have sometimes. You can't dwell on the past mistake if you're going to be able to be successful in the next point.
Speaking of mistakes, Kirsty Trees goes too deep. Service error. 2-point advantage for Panola. Serve controlled by the Lady Cougars. Masaki hit one too hard for the Phillies to control. In fact, Molly Harris hit it back up into De Silva's face. From the right corner, Masaki. Rabius receives. Killed by Melanie Castile. Cayman Sutton comes in to serve.
Neither team playing really good, clean volleyball right now. A lot of errors on both sides, and it's just who's going to make less errors, it seems like, might be the difference.
Rabius taps it over the double block attempt. Here comes Tuisa Maratelli. Panola's lead cut back to 1. Four in the back row for the Phillies. Rabius taps one over. Benitez setting up Kava. Phillies the other way. The dig just momentarily from Benitez, but after that, the Lady Cougars unable to control it.
Good hustle, but nothing really playable on either of those touches.
Rebecca Rabius.
I don't know what happened with Benitez, but they were checking to see if she was okay over there.
Rabius the serve. Marshall gives it back to the Phillies. De Silva into the block by Marshall. And Western Nebraska will score. Cammie Copeland, defensive specialist from Longview, Texas, will check in. Rabius will go to the bench. Jamie Commons to serve for the Lady Cougars. Lady Cougars trying to tie this one here in set number 4. Not only tie the set, but tie the match. De Silva through the double block. Kava got a lot of heat on it, but Sutton able to control it. Benitez on the other end. To Commons, to Bartley, the point. We're tied at 9.
They're relying on Kava quite a bit, and it's nice to see her just go the opposite side and make the defense work a little harder and see something different from Bartley.
Tied for the 3rd time this set, but for the first time since it was 4-4. We're at 9s. Benitez over to Sutton. Panola has to just tap it across. Ramirez does that. Trying to get through the block, Kava. That double contact, yes. Masaki didn't get a good, clean handle on it.
Commons wasn't sure what she wanted to do, and I think that was a late decision by her, and Masaki was not prepared to be set.
Western Nebraska leads it for the first time in set number 4. And leads it now by 2. fact, if you go back, this is the first lead for Western Nebraska since winning set number 1.
They're actually down 1 right now, Western Nebraska is.
Western Nebraska with the serve. Set up for De Silva. De Silva over the double block. Panola leads at 12-10.
That's all right. It's been a long day, and the longer the matches go, sometimes it's, you look up at the scoreboard, and it doesn't say any names up there. It just says home and guest. So
long couple of days. Traveled out to Cloud on Wednesday night. Got back late, 4 hours of sleep there to go through the long day Thursday. Worked late into the evening last night, another 6 hours. Last 2 days, just 10 hours of sleep. It's starting to set in.
Hopefully get a little more tonight, but it's not looking like it the way things are going.
Here comes Western Nebraska. Bartley over the top of the double block. Set up by the Phillies for De Silva. Benitez just does control it. Hit over by Cava. De Silva now, blocked back by Bartley. Castile sets it up. And De Silva will get the touch from Marshall. 13-10 Panola.
Castile just was in the right place at the right time on that one. It came right to her off of the block.
So the point is still true that Western Nebraska has not led since set number 1. Now down 3 here in set number 4. Ball set up for Marshall. Sent back through the block from De Silva. De Silva in on the block with Castile. And the Phillies are up 4. Timeout taken by Western Nebraska. Heavens knows they need it. Heavens knows I need it.
NJCAA fans, the brand new NJCAA store is here. Visit shop.njcaa.org now to find the best NJCAA branded merchandise on the market. On your first order, be sure to use the promo code WELCOME10 and you'll receive 10% off your first order. With orders of $75 or more, you'll receive free shipping anywhere in the United States. So what are you waiting for? Visit shop.njcaa.org now and get your NJCAA gear today.
After leading 1-0 from the first set, it's been all Panola. Up 2-1 now. Winning set number 2, 25-13. Set number 3, 25-19. Ahead by 4 in set 4. Tachi Kara, proud to be the official volleyball of the NJCAA, has generously provided all balls for NJCAA National Championship play for over 30 years. Tachi Kara, we've got the ball. You bring the game. Special thank you to tournament sponsors like Quick Shop, Queen Bee Social Marketing, Yes Way, B&B Hydraulics, Morton Salt, and Kansas Buffet Company. Bartley into the double block. Tried to dig it back out after it was blocked back to her. Couldn't control it.
And it looked like that was going to be a bit of a battle, and right now, last 4 or 5 points, Western Nebraska has begun to struggle again.
Well, since being tied at 9, Panola has gone on a run. Until that point there for Western Nebraska, it was a 6-1 run. So Western Nebraska cuts the lead to 4. Marshall to serve it. Flat-footed serve from way back, and she sent it too deep. Service error.
It's not a good time for the 13th service error of the match. If they're going to get back in it and win this 4th set, they cannot afford to serve the ball out.
Western Nebraska in danger of being eliminated. Down 5 in set 4. De Silva with help from Rabius. The block back. Joust at the net. Stays on the Philly side. Back over now to the Cougars. Cava sends it strongly, but Panola receives off the antenna. Goes Rebecca Rabias. Panola up 4. Amber McRae in her 4th season with the Phillies. Telling your team it's okay. Let's calm down. Let's get back. Stretch this lead if we can, and they will. Stretch it back to 5 thanks to Da Silva. The game within the game. Amber McRae dropped her pen. Didn't know she dropped it. But game management is there with the assist. Da Silva the serve. I was going to see how long the pen was going to lay there. Not much we can do from where we're at other than see it happen. Ball set up for Masaki. Masaki into the block. It comes back wide. Point Western Nebraska.
And this is again another opportunity right here. Masaki's been serving pretty tough. Ka'ava now in the front row. And on cue of my praise of her serving, she serves it out of bounds.
Patented broadcaster's curse. I'm usually the one getting in trouble for that, so I'm glad that you're here to take one for me.
Yeah, I do what I can.
From a service error to a service ace, it's 19-13 off the hand of Cayman Sutton.
It's not looking good for the Western Nebraska Lady Cougars.
Error, ace, error. Long that time on the serve from Sutton.
Yeah, no rallies, just a serving competition.
Ball tapped across here by Adams. Comes back. And long.
It's a great idea to an open spot, but just a foot or two long.
Panola looking to punch a ticket into the 9th place match. Will take place tomorrow morning at 10, right here in the Hutchinson Sports Arena on Sam Butterfield Court. But Kava has different ideas. He gets that one to fall into the back row.
I think Panola just decided not to block that time for some odd reason, and both the blockers kind of thought the other one was going to do something different than they did.
You got it, I got it, nobody's got it. And here comes Da Silva into the double block by Bartley and Marshall. So a little bit of life shown here by Western Nebraska.
When things are going your way, you can laugh about a mistake on the block, but if all of a sudden it gets close, you're going to wish you didn't have that missed opportunity.
Da Silva taps over the double block. Bartley still got a hand on it, so it has to be sent across by Kava. Blocked back by the Phillies, and here comes the attack. Masaki pounds it down.
It's nice from the back row because none of the front row attackers were not ready, so that was a great decision by Commons.
Moments ago, the lead was 6. Since then, 3 straight points from Western Nebraska here in set number 4. Western Nebraska must win to force set number 5, and that won't help.
Well, when we get in these situations, I tell my team, look, you got to side out and score a couple points. You're not going to get it all back in one run, probably. So just side out and work it back a little at a time.
Bartley on the attack gets it in.
So if they can do that, side out, if they can go back and score a couple on their serve, make it a 1-point game. You know, Panola gets the ball back, they side out, get a couple again, it'll be tied up 23-23.
It's 7:30, the start time for the final games of the night. But we're still a little ways away from getting that going. Good matches we've seen here on a Friday from the National Volleyball Tournament here in Hutchinson, Kansas. And it's now a 4-point lead for Panola.
Panola has 2 subs left. If for some reason this pushes into extra points, that could become a factor.
Timeout taken. It's the last one by Western Nebraska. Needing desperately to win set number 4 to stay alive, facing elimination. Keep up with the latest news and updates regarding NJCAA volleyball by visiting the official website of the National Junior College Athletic Association at www.njcaa.org. A big thank you to our fine sponsors here at the tournament, including Fairfield Inn and Suites, Holiday Inn Express, Tyson Prepared Foods, Applebee's, Man Wyatt and Rice, KFSA, and Jimmy John. So for a moment here, volleyball coach from Sterling, John Harding, put yourself in the shoes of volleyball coach for Western Nebraska, Benny Canales. What can he tell his team?
Just 1 point at a time. This is, there's still enough opportunity left here. We're not in a do-or-die situation. Get a side out, like I said. Score a couple points on our serve. It'll be 22-21. Do that again. We'll be at 23-23, 24-24, and we'll believe we can win when we get to that point.
Down by 4, the Lady Cougars. Trying to get the ball back across to the Phillies. Here's Masaki through the double block, and she'll get it to go.
There's the first step in the process. Now they got to go serve tough and score a few points on their serve. They cannot let Panola just side out and get the ball right back.
It's a 3-step process. Step 1, score. Step 2, score. And step 3, score again.
Exactly. You got it. It's a 3-point run you need. You got to do it a couple times in a row.
Sit over by Ramirez. Set up to Masaki. Blocked back. 2 of them were there for that double block. De Silva and Castile.
And the challenge has been that it seems as though Panola knows who Western Nebraska is going to set.
De Silva the serve. High ball for Masaki to tap over, and she does. Diving for it, the libero Hannah Ramirez never had a chance to get there.
Statistically, they both look like they have fairly balanced attacks, but it's really been the outsides getting a vast majority of the sets for Western Nebraska.
Jump serve for Trees. Ball set up for De Silva. Did she get it in? She did. Set point here. Panola, 1 more point. We'll put them in the 9th place match tomorrow to face either Laramie County or St. Pete's. Western Nebraska facing elimination. Masaki gets it to the 10-foot line. It's Rabius. Can she finish it? No. Benitez keeps it alive for Western Nebraska. Masaki again over the top of the double block. Here's Rabius over the outstretched hands of Western Nebraska. Masaki into the double block. Kept alive by Benitez. Ball over by Masaki. Diving is De Silva. Castile keeps it alive from the outside. What a rally here. Masaki gets it down.
And Benitez has been the only reason Western Nebraska has hung in there, really. I think she has gotten so many balls up off of blocks and tough digs. I'm curious how many digs she's got. I'm looking it up, 17 right now, and I would have thought it would have been even a little more than that.
Came into the tournament top 4 in the nation in digs, did Genesis Benitez. As the ball goes into the double block from Kava, she'll try again. Taps it lightly over that double block in the same place. Castile taps down into the front row to Commons. Benitez setting it up for Kava. The dump across, the finisher by Hannah Ramirez. Panola wins it 25-21.
And Benitez just kind of stumbled over her own feet as she was moving towards that ball and couldn't get it up.
So Panola, after being down 1-0, losing in the first set 25-16 to Western Nebraska, goes 25-13, 25-19, and 25-21 to save a date in the 9th place match coming up tomorrow. We'll be back to wrap up the final numbers.
Zone. Caught! Touchdown!
The Mars and Olympico and a goal.
Shot a goal! Unbelievable!
Keep up with the latest news and updates regarding NJCAA volleyball by visiting the official website of the National Junior College Athletic Association at www.njcaa.org. Here in match number 20, an elimination game sees Panola move on to the 9th place match, beating Western Nebraska 3-1. Panola now 27-7 on the year. Western Nebraska finishes its season 33-7, the 5th team to say goodbye to this tournament, joining Eastern Arizona, Hutchinson, Wallace State, and Monroe. What do the numbers look like, John Harding?
It's kind of interesting because they're pretty equal, actually. 46 kills for Panola, 45 for Western Nebraska. 21 hitting errors for Panola, 22 for Western Nebraska. I think a big difference really was the service errors. Western Nebraska, every time they had an opportunity to close the gap, seemed to struggle from the service line, and they had 14 service errors in the game with only 2 aces. So that was a 12-point swing right there, and that just eliminated a lot of their opportunities. So I think, like you said earlier, probably the fact that Panola had a fairly easy 3-game match earlier in the day and Western Nebraska had a very hard-fought 5-game match may have had some effect on the outcome of this game.
Looking back, your player of the game.
Okay, my player of the game. That's a good one. I got to think about this for a second. Statistically, let's look at that. I like both the middles, really. I think I'd have a tough time deciding between Sabino and Correa. I think they both did a great job in the middle, 9 kills and 8 kills, and just blocking really well against the outsides from Western Nebraska.
Thank you to our fine 2017 NJCAA volleyball sponsors: Cox Communications, Pizza Ranch, Sun Valley Inc., Walmart, Heartland Credit Union, Chick-fil-A, the Atrium Hotel, and Conference Center. More volleyball action to come tonight as we will move over to the championship side of the bracket. 4 teams with an opportunity to punch a ticket into the national championship game happening tomorrow night right here in the Sports Arena at 6:30. Coming up, Miami-Dade will take on New Mexico Military Institute, and Tyler will take on the College of Southern Idaho, otherwise known as CSI. Here it was Panola College, the Phillies, now 27-7, the 8th seed in the tournament, ranked 9th at the end of the year, taking down the number 4 seed and 4th-ranked Lady Cougars of Western Nebraska, 3-1. For John Harding, I am Darren Dunn. Hope to see you later tonight for championship volleyball action from the semifinal round in the Hutchinson Sports Arena on NJCAA TV.